Hey everybody, today we're talking about entanglements.
Welcome back to Work. I'm Emmanuel.
And I'm Mamia.
And as Mamia said, today we got a good one for you. We're talking entanglements. All right, as we sit down and having breakfast, we thought we'll talk to you real quick.
Yeah, let y'all in on our little conversation.
That's right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of buzz in the media about Will and Jada and their whole entanglement issue, and we're not gonna tackle their issue today. We don't know all the details of what happened in their marriage. There's always so many sides to these kind of stories, and when the camera goes, people say what they want to say.
Right.
So entanglement, affair, side chick, side booze, all those,
whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
It's real, and it's something that every marriage has to deal with, and it's something that we have been talking about proactively, obviously, since we've been married, in terms of what our expectations are, what our, if you want to call it, entangle-proof strategies or practices are. So we want to talk through some of that and share those with you.
Yeah. I mean, in any relationship, there's always, we're all human beings, and there's always a risk, of there being a third party kind of involving themselves in your relationship.
Right.
And so, we've known that from the onset of our marriage, and we know we're not perfect. It's easy to say, oh, I'd never cheat on my spouse, or I'd never, look at another man, or I'd never look at another woman. If you're telling yourself that, let me tell you, you are lying to yourself.
Yeah.
And the best way to position yourself in a marriage is to know that I'm human.
Yeah.
Anything can happen given the right circumstances.
Yeah.
I think anybody is at risk for a breach in their relationship.
Definitely. We definitely believe we are all susceptible to that. And so the best way we've tried to be proactive is put some safeguards in place that, we think are helpful. And so where do you want to start? I think first maybe platonic relationships.
Yes. Can a man and a woman be in just a friendly relationship?
Mm-hmm.
That's the time-old question that, people have. And for us, I mean, it may be possible, but I think, there are things that are allowable for everybody to do. And then there's, but they all come with consequences. So we know for us, we believe that, having friends of the opposite sex will present a higher risk of a potential breach in our relationship. And that's something that we saw from the beginning, and something that we kind of agreed that we didn't want to add that extra risk in our marriage. And so we don't have, friends who are of the opposite sex. I mean, we interact with plenty of people who are of the opposite sex, but I don't have males calling me to chat about anything. We do have, I do have friends who are like brothers who check in on me from here and there, but the conversation doesn't go past that. And those friends, must also be friends with my husband as well.
Right. And so when we say friends meaning exclusive in terms of that we're chatting on the phone and texting it up, just kind of casually, normally or regularly, like we said, instances where, we may have friends that we both know they're of the opposite sex, and again, there might be exchanges between, but those are, again, the exception and not the rule.
Right,
all right,
exactly.
So that's something that we have put in place in terms of just casual, ongoing casual friendship where, again, you're chatting it up and the communications are regular, where you have the possibility, we believe, of it turning into something more than a friendship. Because, again, men and women, we believe, we're not designed to be just friends in a way where you're building a close friendship. We definitely don't believe in the whole best friend thing, where it's the opposite sex when you're married.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when we got married, I think we've all had friends of the opposite sex, but it seemed like, any female friends that you had, became friends of mine, and they don't even talk anymore. It's like, I'm friends with them more than he is.
Definitely. That's the thing. I think when we got married, again, any friend that I might have had in terms of on that level, again, it became, if that person was married, became like a relationship between the two couples.
Mm-hmm.
But where, again, like you said, it was a female that I knew before we got married. They had probably become more of a friend with Mamia than with me, just because, again, the nature that we want to keep those relationships too.
Yeah, definitely have to have boundaries in every relationship. And that's one of the top boundaries for us. We don't have friends or close friends of the opposite sex. Now, what do you do if, you're not married yet, you have all these friends of the opposite sex, and now you're entering into a serious relationship that's heading towards marriage? What do you think, what do you do?
Oh, so you asking the questions
today? I'm asking the questions. Yes.
So if you have, let's say, I'm getting ready to get married and I have a bunch of female friends, mm-hmm. and now I'm getting ready to go. So I think at that point, I got to be straight up with them, let them know, we can't continue with the level of friendship that we've had, or in terms of switching the nature of the relationship, where they become friends with you, and as a couple, we are friends with them.
Right.
Otherwise, it can't be the same way where I'm just friends with them,
mm-hmm.
And you know them, whether or not you know them, but I'm just kind of the main one interacting with them. So I think, either you kind of really cut them off fully, or I think, again, it switches where we're friends together with them.
Right. And I think any friend who's like, a true friend would understand that and would want the best for your relationship.
Right.
I'm pretty sure people might be, if they don't share the same views, it might be off-putting initially. But a friend who is a friend is gonna, stick with you through that. And, I just think about like the whole best friends of the opposite sex and the vulnerability that it causes in, a marriage or in a relationship. Like if you're going through tough times in your marriage, who are you going to tell? You're going to tell your best friend. And if it's someone of the opposite sex, given the proper circumstances, just like, this whole Will and Jada thing, she was going through, a hard time, as well as that young man who was, in that.
True.
In the media. They were both going through rough times in their life. So just to avoid putting yourself in those circumstances, we like to just avoid, all appearances or all potentials of evil.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says.
Yeah. Slip ups, evil, whatever you want to call it. But I think, that's important. I think because of that emotional vulnerability that we can fall into, that we can find ourselves in. I think it's, I think it, to your question, right? You may have somebody that you might have, I think that's where it gets interesting. Let's say I had somebody that I grew up with,
mm-hmm.
And we've been friends forever, opposite sex, since younger. Like, how do you deal with that? Where you've been friends for a long time, opposite sex, you again, you're casual friends. Yeah, you talk on the phone.
Right.
So how do you?
So this person is like a sister.
Yeah, that's like a sister to me.
But not actually your blood sister.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that becomes my sister-in-law then.
Okay.
That no problem, becomes my sister-in-law. But we're not going to be having hour-long conversations. You and that person of the opposite sex, that has to stop. I think just because, like I said, there's always that potential there. And if we think that would never happen, I think that we're kidding ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that level of naivete, I think, is what oftentimes gets us into trouble that we may or may not be looking for.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right. And so apart from the platonic, relationship thing, what are some of the other things that potentially put us at risk for entanglements?
You got one?
I'm thinking about like workplace. Workplace. I hear when I've seen things about cheaters and all those things. A lot of those things happen at the workplace because, think about it. You're at work 40 plus hours a week with, other people.
Spend more time with our colleagues sometimes than with our spouses.
Right. And so some of the ways that we, chose to guard ourselves in those circumstances is kind of how we deal with, friends of the opposite sex. We don't get into, I'm not going to discuss my life situation with coworkers of the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't do that. I would not go out to lunch unless it's business related. I mean, I don't have a profession where I'm going out to lunches anyway. I mean, I'm lucky if I get to eat lunch on my kind of job. But,
it's hard out here.
It is hard out here for nurses. And so, I wouldn't be having lunches with anyone of the opposite sex. I think that also presents that potential to create a perfect environment for a breach, if there were other circumstances going on in the marriage. So we don't do, like, Emmanuel doesn't go to, non-business lunches with, his co-workers of the opposite sex. Yeah. He does, they have, if you do have like light conversation about your family and things like that, but how do you safeguard?
Yeah, it's this has not been easy, and I'm sure we're talking about it as if it's easy, but it's been sort of over the years where we've definitely done our best to practice, keep implement these practices, but I think as it relates to having conversations in the workplace, realizing that somebody asks you about the weekends again, especially of the opposite sex, asking about my weekend, I can be general, like, hey, family might have did this with the kids or something like that, but not necessarily going into long drawn out sort of plans and things where you become to share really personal information, right, where you have the potential to kind of go and have follow-up conversations where, again, you can get sucked in. And that's where really try to be careful with those conversations. Right. And on that, particularly as far as, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about the kind of conversation in the workplace, but back to your point around going out with the opposite sex. Again, this is another one where kind of it hasn't been easy, but trying to make sure that for me, I am one that I can do lunch during the day for my jobs, and so whether a former colleague or a current colleague wants to go out, just have lunch, I've had to be intentional when it's a female. If it's not business related, work related, I've had to be intentional to find other ways to meet without going out to lunch, just the two of us. And it's not always easy because folks may not always understand. Right. And so, so
because it's not the most popular way.
It's not
of living, and it's not always understood by everyone. But
in fact, I think many people will consider it over the top.
Yeah, I definitely think that some people might think that's too much. But I think it's what has worked for us.
This is how we're trying our best to avoid entanglements.
Right, exactly. And so it may seem over the top to some, but I think these are some of the necessary safeguards to entangle-proof your marriage. It's not, not 100%. I mean, like I said at the beginning, we're all human and we're all susceptible to anything like that. None of us are, entanglement-proof.
Definitely not, because, as things change, as we go through things, as, we have these different seasons, but I think once we can have these general boundaries and general agreements between us, and again, especially around the opposite sex, I think it's so important, yet we treat it so lightly and take it and get so loose with it, when I think we ought to be so not necessarily hard or fast, but really so serious about putting these safeguards up. Because, and then again, Will and Jada in the limelight, so we're hearing about their entanglements, but if we only knew about entanglements that all around us in terms of folks that we know in their marriages, and so it is. I would love to hear what your thought is. Comment below if you agree with what we're saying. If you disagree, sort of what your thought is, and
yeah, I'd love to hear from you because I'm sure there are different feelings about this, way
absolutely.
of handling your relationships.
Yeah, yeah. But again, we have tried to again be careful with the opposite sex, and to be honest, again, for me, my personality, I'm friendly. I can, I love to engage people, and so it's more of an intentional thing for me to be mindful, to especially in the workplace or other places, to be careful how I engage with folks of the opposite sex, and so we find that it's been helpful to make sure that we are, keeping our boundaries. And I think.
Yeah, and apart from that, I think we always try to keep our communication.
That's what I was just about to hear.
Are you about to talk about that? Yeah, I think it's important for us to keep our communication up. Like I know what's going. I talked to him about his day at work. He talks to me. I mean, I also share with him what's going on at my workplace. And I think that also just makes each other comfortable with who we interact with, and if there is anything that sounds like it could be a potential for any issues, I would bring it up to him, or he would bring it up to me. Like, why is this guy sharing with you this at work? Like, there's been times where he's had to, be like, that I don't know if those were good conversations that you were having with someone of the opposite sex. Yeah. And vice versa. Yeah.
I think that actually has been one of the biggest keys for us, being transparent in our relationships in terms of interactions outside of each other, where whether it's work related or not, where we come back to the table and say, this person kind of was sharing this with me, and I don't know, how do I, in fact, I'm not quite sure how I should respond, and being able to get that feedback, that advice, to say, okay, you need to watch out for this one. But I think when we put it out on the table, like we've done many a times, has been really, really helpful for us. Again, because not only do I have her perspective in dealing with it, but she knows I'm not inclined to kind of, especially if it starts to go to left, try to protect myself and hide it. And so that has been key. That's been huge. Being transparent and talking about our experiences in that way.
Yeah, and I think that we have to, I don't know, be understanding of each other, and not like when you feel like your spouse is going in a wrong direction, you can't like bite their head off about it, because I think that's what we are here for, to be a sounding board for one another. To not only are we trying to be faithful in our marriages, but for us, we're trying to be faithful to God. And so, when your spouse sees you going in the wrong direction, whether it be with relationships or anything in life, it's a blessing to have somebody who is in such close proximity as far as, your life, to be able to pull you back if you're going in the wrong direction. And so that's really been a blessing for us.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to add on that is, when we don't have the fear of kind of being sort of not only judged, but kind of being knocked down for something that we might bring to the table, especially if it's, help me with this, kind of, figure out, am I doing this right? Then we are more likely to be transparent and share and have those conversations. And so that level of grace and understanding within those conversations, I think, is a big part of continuing to cultivate that environment that allows that type of communication that is necessary between you two, again, especially around the opposite sex.
And I don't think it's always automatic. I think that's like a muscle you have to build with time, because, I know that, in the beginning, I might have been like, you were talking about what? Yeah. And so that creates a
level of angst in terms of trying
to share. So, be patient with each other, be understanding with each other. And know that, your spouse also needs a safe place to be able to share those things. And, if you react in the proper way, you will continue to cultivate that safe environment.
If we don't have a safe place here, where else can I go? Where can she go?
And that's when you do go somewhere else, when you don't have that safe.
Unfortunately. So yeah, hopefully we can get your thoughts in the comments in terms of what you think, what you might be doing, how you see it, because again, we know not everybody, in fact, not a lot of people don't necessarily see it this way, because it is really sort of some strict boundaries that we're trying to put in place. But let us know what's been working for you, what's not, and how you see sort of this thing of doing your best to make your marriage or relationship entanglement proof.
Right.
All right.
Okay. We would love to hear from you guys. And also, if you like this content that you're getting, if you're enjoying our channel, please like this video. Check out our other videos, and please share this content.
Definitely share this
with people who are who are married already, even if they're in a wonderful marriage. We're we want to promote good marriages, and we hope that you can learn from some of our experiences and what we've learned over the years. For people who are hoping to get married, share our content. We want to, we'd love for other people to hear from our experience as well.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, take care.
Peace.
All right.